All right. Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Nice and sunny in Melbourne today. Um,
It is.
so nice to have you and the podcast and the YouTube channel. You are an amazing actress, filmmaker, and film producer, and also um, a breast cancer survivor. So, do you want to say a bit about yourself, your name, where you're coming from, and what your life is a bit about?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. It's exciting to see you do this new podcast, and I look forward to watching everyone else. So I grew up in Finland, and then I studied in England, and I have been in Australia for about 12 years now. And yeah, from quite early on, I always just loved performing. I think it was my way of almost connecting with people. And as an actor, I most enjoy about getting into knowing the character. And I think it's just my way of understanding other people better. Like that's what I love about acting is understanding how someone else's mind operates. And I guess I've always been playful in nature, and I've liked improvisation from very early on, and I was always a little bit directorial, I guess, even as a child. Like I remember on playgrounds, I would have been the one who was kind of facilitating the play for everyone. If we were skipping rope or something, I was like, okay, your turn, your turn, your turn. And it was always like, it wasn't about me, it was more about organizing other people so that it was fair for everyone. Because I remember my mum instilled this like this awareness of fairness, like what's fair and what's right and what's not right. And so then I felt like it was kind of my role to make sure that everyone gets a fair go. And that was what my kind of directorial journey became early on, that I facilitated everyone's play on the playground. And now I facilitate some films. It's not that different. We're still just skipping ropes and taking turns. But yeah, so I started producing films a few years, maybe like, let's say 10 years ago, probably. I would have started writing and producing my first short films. So I made 5 short films as a director producer before I launched into making features, and yeah, released my first feature 2017.
And how old were you then when you started?
Oh God. So I'm 40 now. So what's that? 5 years ago. No, I said I was an artist, not a mathematician. No, so I guess I would have been in my mid-30s. Yeah.
Amazing. But you've always been an actor and director at heart. So now you're living your calling or your passion.
Skipping ropes in a different way.
Yeah. And then when did you come to Australia and why?
So that was 2010. I was just at an age where I was still able to move countries quite easily with the working holiday visa. And because there's like a cutoff somewhere in your 30s when you can no longer do that quite as easily. So it was a time when I had to do it if I was to do it. And being a Finnish citizen, I knew I was going to be able to live anywhere in Europe at any point because of the EU. And one of my dreams, I think, at some point would be to maybe try and live in Berlin. But I knew I could do that at any point, whereas Australia I had to do now, back then, 2010. So initially it was just one of those working holiday visas for a couple of years. But within those 2 years, it was just a really easy place to start making art. And initially I took part in productions as an actor before I started producing and directing my own work. And yeah, I just found Melbourne, look, networking is always hard, but I definitely found my place, I felt like, in Melbourne. And within those 2 years already did so many projects, films and theatre productions, that it felt like it was worthwhile trying to stay here. And I applied for something called the Distinguished Talent Visa, which was quite a process to go through. But I got that and became a permanent resident, and I've been a citizen now for a few years. So I think initially it was just trying whether Australia would be. I feel like for many artists, you often have to go to like out of your comfort zone to find new inspiration, or to just find life experiences. And it might not always happen where you're born, or it might not happen where you are. You might have to go to a different place, and for me at that point, that place became Australia. It's not to say that I don't like a feeling of settling. Actually, I've settled here now for 12 years. That's a pretty long time. And I'm just happiest where I can work. And Australia has been pretty good. Like I've felt quite supported here, and I've been able to do what I was never able to do in Finland, for example. I didn't feel like I had similar opportunities there, although of course now it's unfair to say, because I have been here for that long, and I haven't been in Finland to create those opportunities as well. For some reason, I don't know, there was a point of difference to me that maybe just helped a little bit, or maybe it's my own feeling that I have to try harder here because this is not my natural environment. I'm not sure why, but it's been really good here. I've made really good contacts and really enjoyed the companionship of other actors and other filmmakers here in Melbourne. That was a long answer. Sorry.
No, it's a great answer. I mean, I can totally relate. So I'm like, yeah. And so to shift to the breast cancer might be a bit vulnerable conversation as well. When did you find out that you, and how did you find out that you had cancer in your body?
It is and it isn't vulnerable, because like I decided very early on to just be super open about it. Like my social media, I've made so many posts about having cancer, and through the treatments, like pictures of myself bald and chemotherapy and stuff like that. I've included footage of my radiotherapy in my next film. So like I think I just decided quite early on to just be super open about it, and like, why not? I found out in 2019 there was a lump in my chest, and before then I was already quite aware of the possibility, because my mum had it, and I remember just I guess examining my breasts, as I think every woman probably should, every now and again in the shower, just have a good feel. And there was definitely like a little lump, and I went to I had already on the previous year, I had another lump checked out, which was non-malignant, and I went to this particular screen, and I remember that the person doing it was a bit dismissive. They're like, oh, all breasts are lumpy. So then I thought, oh, okay, maybe I'm just being, hypochondriac. And I didn't even go back for my results for quite a few months. And then I went to my GP for different reasons. It would have been like 4 months after that scan. And I was like, oh, do you just want to look back at those tests that were done back in a few months ago? And they read the report and immediately sent me back for more testing. And that lump turned out to be cancerous. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure what happened there, why I hadn't been contacted about it, because it seemed like it was quite clear from that scan that there was definitely something that needed to be looked at. So I guess a learning from that is that always go back for your results. I think too often we think that, oh, they'll let me know if there's something worrisome, but no, it doesn't necessarily happen. Could be some kind of I don't know, break in communication or whatever did happen, why I didn't get that message. But yeah, and then that got fast tracked pretty quickly. I got all the scans to confirm that yes, this one is malignant, this one needs to be taken out. And so that would have been August 2019, and it was operated in November, that October or November that year. I had the cancer removed, and also got chemotherapy and radiotherapy. I think mainly because I was so young and because it grew quite fast, so they just wanted to give me all the works to try and make sure that it doesn't come back. And now I will be on hormonal therapy, so that's just medicine that I take on daily basis for quite a long time.
Yeah, well, and so obviously you were already aware of this topic because it was in your family. So how did you approach this? Like how were you aware of this? Like, did your mom kind of spoke with you about it, or did you just research this through the family, that you would be aware of this topic?
I've been pretty alone with it, to be honest, apart from my good friends. So the tragic thing with mum was that although she had breast cancer towards the end, she was already suffering from early onset dementia, which she got in her mid-40s, which basically rendered her unable to speak during the first 2 years of the diagnosis. However, she lived for another 15. So from her diagnosis at 46, she lived for another 17 years, which was super tragic. And at least for 10 years, I just wanted to be able to kill her because it was not worth living. Like, if you imagine a bed patient, unable to do anything for herself, unable to communicate, like it's not life. And I know mum wouldn't have wanted to live that way. And then towards the end, she also got breast cancer. So no, there wasn't communication with mother about it, but I was aware of it because she had it. And I guess even then, she would have been late 50s when she got the cancer. So that's still considered early, although I had mine in my 30s. So yeah, it just made me aware. But I think for myself, it's like, if I only get cancer, if I don't get dementia, I'm fucking lucky. Like, that's how I see it. And that might sound really confronting to some people, but just having seen her in that condition, which there is no, like, there's so much we can do for cancer. Like, most cancers are really quite treatable. And particularly if you get them early, it's thing that we know how to treat. But there is no cure for dementia, and like neurological stuff is so much harder to deal with, so much harder and so much more devastating, at least for myself, to see mum in that condition. It was kind of, we were all waiting for her to die, basically. And I'm sure she was waiting for her to die as well. And it's just tragic that we can't help our humans to die when they need to die in the same way as we can help our pets.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. So pretty much you became only aware of your family health history kind of through pretty much looking after your mom and becoming aware of what was going on in her body. and as well with the breast cancer. So obviously she wasn't really able to talk to you, but because you were caring for her, you became aware that this is also something that could be related to your body. And then, yeah, is that correct?
I mean, yeah, genetic stuff I would have been aware of just through basic schooling, biology lessons, and mum's illness. The early onset dementia was very unexplained. Doctors weren't really able to find any reasons for it early on and during her lifetime, and I was very keen to do a genetic study on that, and luckily found enough interest in Helsinki, where she died. Helsinki, Finland, and geneticists took her samples, and after a few years of studying, actually, they didn't find any of the common genetic mutations in her that usually cause that illness. But yeah, they persisted and started looking at more rare mutations, and after a couple of years actually found one. So that's now a study that's being done at the Helsinki University, and I'm giving samples. Any other family members that are willing to give samples, before you die, you can give stuff like blood, and like there was a piece of my flesh cut out of me, so that they can study that as well. It's super intelligent research, and I don't know how to explain it very well, but I just know that it's very important to do. And sorry, this gets me a little bit emotional.
It's okay.
I faced quite a lot of challenges in my family because my sister wasn't keen at all to do it. So I needed to push through it myself, and Dad also wasn't super keen to do it. I think he didn't care so much, but sister was actually actively against it. So it's been quite a sore point to do all that myself. But I just knew it was important for medicine. So yeah, I pushed through it. And sorry if anyone's triggered by this watching this, but I'm comfortable crying. It's fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine. It's okay.
Yeah, I just knew that for humanity, it's important to find out, because the kind of illnesses that we don't have cure for, research is the only way to learn more about them and to potentially find a cure in the future. So yeah, even if I felt really alone in that process, I knew it had to be done. And when they did find a mutation, it was like, of course it's scary because it means that I might have it, but at the same time I knew it was worth it. That the fact that I had gone through that process was actually giving some results and some information.
Yeah, well, it's really, yeah, brave and good for you to do that, because obviously that, I guess, helps you to process things, but also to help humanity understanding why people having dementia with 46 and then suffer possibly for several more years without being present and living the life they want to live and enjoying life. So yeah, thank you for that. That's great.
If it makes a difference even for one person in the future, it's worth it.
Yeah,
if it
totally.
makes a difference for one family, someone I probably won't ever know about, if it means that someone else doesn't have to go through this, it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do you want to take a moment? Are you okay? I give you a hug.
I probably need some tissues. Can you give me one?
Yeah,
surely you can do that through. No, I'm all right. We can continue. I'll try and collect myself.
Yeah, just take a deep breath.
Oh, is this not therapy? I thought I came to therapy. No?
Hello. So yeah, let's talk about you again. Like, so how did you support yourself? You know, how did you after you discovered you had the lump in your breast and you were seeking medical advice, how did you approach helping yourself finding the right answers? Because I think there are a lot of women out there that also have cancer, maybe not only breast cancer but different cancers as well, and I think it's really great having some great women like getting the message out there to maybe help others to finding advice, finding help, finding support in whatever way. So do you want to share something about this?
Sorry, I will actually quickly blow my
Yeah,
nose.
go for it.
Right. Yeah, so I have just a strong network of friends around me, and I just reached out to friends. At the time of my diagnosis, I was in a relationship which didn't last through the entire cancer journey. It ended in the middle of one of my treatments, which left me in a way, again, a little bit less supported than in a relationship. Having said that, it wasn't the relationship itself was 2 years, so it wasn't like super long term or anything, and probably the pressures of cancer certainly didn't help. And I guess if one would have been in like a lifelong relationship, there would have been a lot more support. But I definitely don't blame them for that, because I think it is quite a lot of pressure for such a what is quite a new relationship. But of course, for myself, it was hard, because that was one support that I had less. So I just had to be relying more on my friends. And the hospital that I was at, which was the Olivia Newton-John Center, part of the Austin Hospital in Heidelberg, was fantastic. There were, like, outside the actual consultations, there was also like a wellness center where they had various different things they could offer, like massage and counseling and things like this. Having said that, this was like just before the pandemic started, that most of my cancer treatment happened. I was still in radiotherapy during the first lockdown, actually, which was an interesting journey. We can come back to that later. But so at the moment, I feel like some of those supports probably are a little bit less in place just because of COVID, which is really tragic. Just because for me, certainly having that, what they call wellness center, was an important place to go to for these extra supports that you could get, not just seeing your specialist and seeing your surgeon, but also getting a nice massage or getting a bit of counseling. So through hospitals, certainly some things were offered, but some things were just through looking out for them myself. So I guess if anyone has to go through this journey, just ask the people that are treating you what else is there, because there usually is something else on offer, but they might not always remember to tell you about everything. But yeah, just keeping eyes open mind open in getting all the help that you can get. I had some people reach out to me and ask me what they can do to help others that I would have not expected, but would have been nice, or that they would have helped when not so forthcoming. So it's an interesting journey of, I guess people will do stuff that they feel comfortable helping with, and some people just, I had lots of people also like send me messages afterwards saying that, oh, I wanted to do something but I didn't know what to. And for me that's a bit like, well, why didn't you say it then, and I could have told you how to help me. So I guess, for those people that want to do something for someone else but don't know what to do, just ask. Like, I think people will tell, and just knowing that there are people out there happy to help or happy to be there for you, that makes so much, that just makes all the difference. And for me, those people that did reach out, whether or not they had any idea what to do, that was amazing, and that was the best help. Just knowing that I wasn't alone on that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think it's I think that's why I possibly introduced it. We're sometimes vulnerable because that's maybe how, if you haven't gone through the journey, oneself might feel that, and it's might be difficult for someone to approach the person that deals with whatever, whether it's mentally or physically pain. And yeah, I think it's lovely that you share that it's whatever, just ask the person, and you might be rejected, but you might also find that someone is really happy to be helped by you. So
I think one thing that I would always steer out of is giving advice, because that's that kind of help is usually not
appreciated.
Needed. Like, I think most people know what's good for them, and if they want advice they will ask, but like sharing advice without asking, I think that's always something that is not super welcome. So that's the only thing I would ask people to steer away from. But anything else, any kind of, I want to be there for you, I want to physically hold your hand through this, or be a listening ear, the only thing don't do is advice. Those were some of the more painful experiences, where when someone started just sharing advice without me asking for it. And I remember, for example, one person was like starting to tell me all these kind of foods that you should eat to prevent cancer, and I'm like, it felt almost offensive, because I knew that my diet was good already, and particularly if it's due to a genetic reason, there's nothing you can do to prevent getting it. Like, it made me feel like I had done something wrong and it was my own fault that I had cancer. So that's the kind of, that's the danger in advising someone, unless they specifically ask, is that you make them feel like, they've done something wrong and they somehow deserve this.
So what did you find was really helpful people doing for you?
Some people offered just like practical help, I guess, like, I'll take care of you after surgery, you can come to my place if you like, or I'll come to your place to take care of you after surgery, stuff like that. Coming to visit me at the hospital was nice. I just really appreciated when people just asked how you are, whether if I always had the strength to answer. I'm not sure if there were people that I didn't answer to, I apologize. But like, any kind of reaching out was appreciated. And just being there, just like, and I think consistency in friendships, it's really important, like through everything, like because a lot of people knew me as this an actor or a filmmaker that was always doing a lot of work, and but then all of a sudden being a cancer patient is like, well, now I'm actually having to go to chemotherapy, and like that's what I'm doing today. So I guess seeing the person as a whole and seeing that as part of someone's journey, and like seeing that that person is equally valuable and equally able, and yeah, I think just respect through it all. That when I experienced that, people still saw me as the filmmaker and as the actor, and not as, now you're a cancer patient. No, that's not my identity. My identity is to be a filmmaker. And I think that also helped when people kept bringing me back to, reminding me of who I actually am. Because I think that's one of those things that the illness might do as well, is kind of rob your identity, and your life becomes too much about ongoing treatments and having to look after yourself. So other people reminding me about my work and my success and my achievements, that was really helpful as well.
Yeah, lovely. That's so nice and true. Yeah, so much truth in this. Do you want to talk a bit about what actually happened to your body after your body and your mind, once you found that you had a lump in your breast? Like, what was the journey for your body, mind, and soul after this?
So after the surgery, I had such an early detection cancer that the lump was very small, and physically I still look the same. So I still have my breast. There's a little scar because of the surgery, but that's it. If you don't see me naked, you can't tell. and I guess for some women, that might be really important, that they get to keep their breasts, or that they, still to feel like a woman. Unfortunate part for me is that because it was a hormonal cancer, I have to now be on hormonal therapy. That that really changes. Like I'm essentially now a postmenopausal female. So that means things like there's not so much estrogen anymore in my body, which causes things like low mood, depression. It's like estrogen is one of those things that just gives you your energy and your zest. And yeah, it's definitely been a process to adjust to that I'm not feeling as much as myself since I've had to be on that medication. And I really have to motivate myself, even just to be joyous and to be happy. That takes up a lot more work than it used to. Having energy to do things takes up a lot more work than it used to. And yeah, it's just, I never wanted to have children anyway, but now definitely that possibility is not even there anymore. So that's something to consider. Sex is much harder these days because of the hormonal treatment. Basically, I'm now in a young body that's like an old female body, and sex becomes different. Yeah, everything just takes a little bit more effort now. And yeah, it's a medication that keeps my cancer away. Hopefully, that's that's the theory anyway. But yeah, then it causes these other challenges for me, which is unpleasant. And I know I was kind of told about this stuff before I went on that treatment, but also I kind of had to experience it for myself to know what it's really like. I think it's one of those things that can be explained to you in theory, but before you actually experience it yourself, it's impossible to know what it will be like.
Yeah. And so how did you feel about losing all your hair? How long, what a long period was that, like after you discovered it to when your hair came back? Like, did you feel that was also this take some of your personality or dignity, you know, away?
Yeah, I think another hair is a big issue for many women, and I kept reminding myself of how lucky I was to be like growing up in a family where my mom just brought me up to believe that my value wasn't in what I look like, or my value as a female isn't in how many children I can provide for the family, or like, yeah, how pretty I actually. Mom never cared much about. She was really beautiful, but she didn't care about clothes or like these kind of traditionally female things. She really made me believe that my value was in what I do. And so I think I was really lucky to grow up in that environment where I knew that my value wasn't in something like my hair or what I look like. So for me personally, the losing the hair wasn't a super painful experience. I kind of liked what I look like with a bald head.
Yeah.
And I was planning on keeping it longer. The only reason I started regrowing my hair back was because it was really cold. The bald head was actually really cold. And then we were going towards winter and it was starting to get colder. I was like, no, man, I need some hair. This is too cold. So otherwise I might still be bald because I quite like the look, and it was something that I had. I think bald head was something that I had wanted to try way before cancer, just to see what it looks like. And then when I didn't have a choice, when it happened through chemotherapy, I don't know, I kind of, in some weird way, I sort of enjoyed it. I guess I accepted it as a part of the journey as well. And what I did not like afterwards was a few months that followed after I started regrowing it. That was the short hair. Oh, that was really, that I didn't like. So that was the part that I hoped I could have skipped directly from bald to longer hair. Yeah, that definitely didn't make me feel like myself at all.
Yeah. Now you have pretty hair again. Sometimes it's pink.
So this is the length that it is, and I hadn't had any haircuts since it started growing. So it's
How long
actually
is
just
this
grown
now?
really beautifully into shape by itself. Since when did I start regrowing? April 2020. So, and it's now January 2022. So that's how much growth I've had since then. And yeah, it's like, I think that was one of the good things about the growing journey, although I didn't like the really short stages, but it always like naturally just grew into a nice shape without hairdressers, which was, at least that's something.
Yeah. And how, I mean, you said a bit about how it's impacting your estrogen level and your mood and energy level. How do you support yourself now? Like, obviously, I guess your awareness is constantly also on, you know, possibly checking your body, I assume, and being still aware of your breasts, possibly, as you said before, like checking them, but also how does it impact you now, of also what you said already, but how do you support yourself in overcoming the, you know, depressing parts of it?
I try not to cry this much on daily basis.
That's okay.
You have been privy to my tears today. I mean, yes, I do check myself, but also when you have cancer once, I guess the advantage is that now I just get checked all the time anyway by medical professionals, so I don't have to do so much myself. Like, I get various different scans on a yearly basis, and yeah, I mean, it's such a privilege to live in the country that actually cares about its people. Yeah, if there's any concern, my my oncologist and surgeons definitely go into every effort of looking at everything through various different ways that they can do CT scans, MRIs, or anything that they can, they will do. And it's been really lovely to see that there really is quite a lot of care. And certainly now, yeah, after you've had cancer once, you definitely get looked at quite a lot, and in a way it feels like I don't have to carry that responsibility so much. Yeah, doctors care and it's nice to be cared of.
Yeah. So is there anything also you like to share what women can do to prevent, you know, what would be the steps to prevent such events, and also, yeah, what can you do during and after? Like, do you have some, you know, approach, share?
I mean, apart from just normal stuff about healthy lifestyle, you know, exercise, balanced diet, having fun, having good sex. Have good sex whilst you can. That's what I'd say. Like, whilst your vagina is fully functional, use it. Because it might not always be the case. And they don't tell you this. I don't know why we don't get told at school that, you know, as you get older, as you go through menopause, your vagina changes and it's not quite as pleasurable as it used to be. I don't know why we don't get told about this stuff. Maybe that will be my mission now. I will tell people to use their vaginas. I can still orgasm. It's still happening. Clitoris hasn't been affected. It's okay. But yeah, like all the normal health stuff. Just I don't want to advise anyone on how to, you know, how to prevent cancer.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have to smoke, please don't smoke. Probably that kind of stuff helps. And but I never did, and like I still got cancer. So don't blame yourself. If you get cancer, it might just be bad genes.
Yeah.
And
I was thinking possibly more like what you said before, I guess, like,
yeah.
What I meant is more maybe I guess it's possibly good to be aware of your family history and possibly any kind of you know, whatever happens around you, be aware of, to just might prevent or help yourself. But also what you said already before, check your breasts under the shower, or also go to a GP and check it before it's too much, too big, too late. That kind of I guess what I wanted to wrap on what, you know.
and also take other people's word for it. I remember the very initial lump was discovered by someone I was having sex with. So it wasn't myself at all.
Oh,
They were
okay.
like, I mean, it's a nice breast, but there's a lump in there. I was like, oh, I hadn't noticed. And that
Wow.
was the initial lump that actually was non-malignant, but it was because of that lump that then I became more aware of actually checking them more often. So yes, thank you, person, for pointing that out to me. Yeah, check your own breast or check your partner's breast if your partner has got breasts. And obviously that's just the first step in. And also, like, they can be underneath your arms, they're not necessarily in the breast themselves. I guess just if you have any concern about anything, talk to your doctors, because you know their job is to be interested. And after, I think something that I always recommend to anyone that will listen is getting therapy. Like, it's just I have been seeing a grief counselor since my 20s, because I was 16 when mum got ill, and so I was still a teenager. And ever since mum was ill, our family dynamic was very difficult. And because I guess she was the person who kept peace and kept the family together. And when she was no longer able to be that person, the family just crumbled apart, and we all had to kind of fend for ourselves. And so yeah, I think in my early 20s I realized I needed just, you know, support, and so I've seen counselors ever since then. And I had a long relationship which was about 11 years, and that was really supportive. And around that time I think I got a little bit less therapy, just because the relationship was so loving and so supportive, so I felt like I needed it less. Then mum actually physically died, although she had died a decade before. When mum physically died a few years ago, I went back into therapy, grief counseling, and yeah, it's just a lifesaver. I don't see what I would do if I wasn't in therapy. I definitely wouldn't be a very good human to anyone around me, because I would be just too sad. Whereas now that I have that support, I'm not this crying mess on daily basis. And I have strategies of how to support myself and how to get over the worst periods of my life. And so I was already in counseling because of grieving for mum when I then got cancer. So I think for me that was an important part, that there was already an established relationship with a counselor that already knew me. It's probably a little bit more challenging if the first time that you go into therapy is through your cancer journey, and that's like a new skill, because there's a bit of a skill in talking about yourself and about your emotions and issues to someone. It's almost like a skill in itself. But so I had already established that through grieving about losing mum and all that. But yeah, I definitely have kept that up through these years, and also before COVID was going to like a support group as well, or just for like depression and anxiety, those kind of issues. I haven't really ever been diagnosed with anything like it, although I can definitely feel like I sometimes have really low mood, and grieving is definitely an issue that I've needed help with for years. And but I haven't actually been ever diagnosed with a mental health condition, or whatever that means. But but I think with the support group that I was going to, it didn't need diagnosis. You usually don't. If you feel like you need the help, you can usually go and find a group that will be suitable for it. But again, I'm talking before pandemic. Again, this is another thing that's been really challenged through this, and I just don't see the whole online support group thing being anything as useful as when you're actually seated in the room with people. I know a lot of people find that idea of going into support group quite challenging, and like being vulnerable in front of people that you don't know just too much. But I think something that I experienced was that there was no pressure of talking. Like I could have just gone, and sometimes did, just go in and listen to other people talk, and that was completely fine. I didn't always feel like saying anything when I went to support group, and I could just sit there and listen, and even that was quite helpful, just to hear that other people also have challenges and I'm not alone. So that was definitely really helpful. I know for cancer there would be support groups, but again, because of the timing with the pandemic, I haven't attended any of those, but I imagine they would be helpful, and probably after the madness of the pandemic is over and done with, hopefully one of these years, decades, I'll probably seek for something like that as well.
Yeah, amazing. That's a good advice, and yeah, good to the things you share, like also sometimes listening to other people might help you as well as talking yourself, or maybe opens you up to, like maybe coming back to the word vulnerable, but like becoming vulnerable in front of people, actually talking about your experience or finding empathy, other people talking, and you feel like, oh wow, they feeling the same way I do. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and like even just as an artist, as an actor, it's invaluable for me to see other people go through their journeys. Like, I suppose I would still choose not to have cancer, or I suppose I would still choose not to have lost my mother. But at least through this journey, I've learned so much about humanity and about other people that, that's invaluable.
Yeah, what would that be? I just wanted to ask you, like, after all these experiences, highs and lows, being creative, then being diagnosed with cancer, what's your life advice for people? What's a good thing to share, to bring some positive thoughts into the world?
My life advice is never give advice to anyone else.
Well, you're not forcing it to someone. I just asked you. Or maybe not advice, but maybe just like a message, something.
I mean, I always forget this when I'm feeling really bad, like when I'm at my lowest of lows. They're reaching out to other people, that's hard, because if I feel like I'm just feeling this shitty, like why would anyone want to have me in their life if I'm feeling like this? So yeah, but I guess those are the times when I most need to reach out to someone. And yeah, I think that's just having people around you, whoever they are. Like for me, for example, that's not my biological family. It's the friends that I've created on my journey, like those friendships, and be me looking after people when they needed it, and them looking after me when I needed it. Like that's all there is, really, just looking after each other. And yeah, I find that in those times when I am really, really very low and suffering, that it's very difficult to be vulnerable, because I felt like I would be judged and I would be not respected when I'm a crying mess. And maybe that's true for some people. Maybe it is hard to respect someone who is a crying mess and to still see them as equally strong and powerful as they were before. But I think also I've just had to accept help of other people, and that hasn't always been easy, because I guess also of, you know, early experiences of being let down by the biological family, that the kind of the environment where we're supposed to be loved and accepted for who we are, whatever that is, and it's unfortunately not true for all of us. But yeah, I think I realized quite early on that I just had to I really had to make an effort to create a support network around myself, and yeah, I'm just really grateful for the friendships that are around me, and that keep nurturing me, and I keep nurturing them. And yeah, I think just other people, I mean, what else is there for a human than other people?
Pets.
But yeah, well, pets, that's, but I just, yes, you definitely get a lot of emotional support from a pet, but for myself, humans are pretty irreplaceable.
That's true. I was saying
Yeah,
pets because I know how we love,
yeah,
how we both share
yeah,
the love for animals.
yeah, yeah.
Lovely.
What was the original question? My advice. Yeah, just to. It might be difficult to try and ask for help, but try at least ask for help, and people are usually quite happy to do something, particularly if they get told what to do. It's just like, if you tell people how you would like to be supported, usually you can get that help, particularly if you're not an asshole. If you are an asshole, then I don't know how to help you. But no, if you're kind to people, they're usually kind back, and then you're allowed to be asshole at times. If 80% of the time you're kind, then you're allowed your 20% of being an asshole when you're feeling really low and moody, and that's probably also okay.
Yeah. Let's all not be assholes most of the time. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your story. I really loved listening to it. It was really nice.
Sorry about all the crying.
It's okay. So thank you so much. And
Thank you very much. And yeah, I will survive. I think I'm just quite comfortable with being vulnerable now, and I've seen time over time how my pain helps other people sometimes, because I guess we're not so used to expressing it in this way, and being so vulnerable in front of it and against it and with it. And yeah, that's why I've decided to be so open about my own pain, in hope that when other people are going through some difficult stuff, they can see that there's another crying mess in this world, don't worry.
Exactly.
And yet I survive, and I'll go back to making films.
Amazing. Yay. Can't wait to see the films. I'm just going to link all your names and homepages and things in the show notes of the video. And then if people want to see your films, contact you or the like, they can.
Yeah, always here.
Always. Yes. Okay, Saara, thank you so much. And
thank you.
Mwah.